All right, let's talk about the day the mountain finally pushed back. There's this family, right? 3 generations, 70 years, one little cabin, and a lake so blue it looks painted. My family, the Reeds. My old man, tough as pine knots, used to say, "If you're lucky enough to have a patch of earth with your name on it, you never let anyone take it from you." Turns out some folks missed that memo entirely. So picture this, my dad, 62, sitting on the shore, fishing pole, in hand hat, tilted just so he's done this every summer, every Sunday, every slow afternoon since before I was born. The air smells like pine sap and a little bit of wet earth. The kind of day you think nothing bad can touch you. That's when the trouble walks up wearing a Rent-A-Cop uniform and an HOA badge you can probably get printed at Kinko's. Now here's the part that'll stick with you. The HOA president, her name's Deborah Bailey, and she's got a smile sharp as broken glass, stands there and watches as her security guy shoves my dad hard, calls him a trespasser on the very land his father, my grandpa Henry, bought back when Eisenhower was president. My dad hits the grass, his knee giving out. Neighbors, folks he's known since before they had gray hair, just stand there, no one sure what to do. And then, an ambulance, a hospital, and a late-night phone call that changed everything. I remember that call. 11:17 p.m. Tuesday. My mom's voice. She's got that shaking, cracked thing going on. And right then, I knew before she said it, your father is in the hospital. His heart. Not a heart attack, thank God, but something just as mean, his body thrown out of rhythm by the kind of stress no man should ever feel on his own land. I hit the road before midnight Portland to the mountain cabin, 3 hours of headlights and silence. The radio was off. My mind was stuck on one loop heart monitor, stable but under observation. You gotta understand, my dad isn't fragile. The guy's a carpenter. Built our house, every piece of furniture, even patched the roof during storms that'd make the news. For him to land in the cardiac unit, that meant something broke that night, and not just in his body. When I get to the hospital, it's as quiet as the inside of a church. My mom's in a plastic chair, coffee cold, eyes red. She tells me the story in pieces. Dad went fishing like always. Security walks up, tells him to get lost. My dad stands his ground. "I'm David Reed," he says. "My family's owned this land since 1952. You know how it goes, security doesn't care." Then comes Deborah Bailey, HOA Queen Bee. She tells my dad the lake's a community amenity. He points at our old cabin. His father built it with nothing but hands and stubbornness. Shows ID. Explains the deed. Doesn't matter. The guard grabs his arm. My dad resists. And wham, he's down in the grass, heart pounding out of time, pride trampled right there in front of the neighbors. They haul him off in an ambulance. Deborah tells everyone the situation is under control. Sure it is. But see, they made one mistake. They thought my dad was alone. They didn't know who they were dealing with. I'm a real estate attorney, Portland-based, 8 years in the trenches, with property disputes, title claims, all the stuff HOAs pray you don't know. And they just picked a fight with the wrong family. Sun comes up and I'm at the cabin. It's still ours, the air, the smell of pine and mud, the quiet. But someone's marked their territory. There's a big new sign, Pinewood Lake Estates, private lake. Members only, violators prosecuted. My dad's been fishing in this spot since the Beatles were a new band. The posts are fresh, the wood's still raw. Someone put that sign up weeks ago on our land. So I walk the property. There's a dock professionally built right on our shoreline. Rules board, benches, HOA trash cans, even a gravel path sneaking from our property into the HOA trail. Every bit of it trespass. Every dollar spent stolen. And here's what the law says. Put up a sign. Build a dock. Charge people money for a lake you don't own. That's not just trespassing, that's fraud. I think about my grandpa. He bought this place in '52, 12 acres, and a lake all deeded, all recorded. He built the cabin, fished with my dad, and later with me. When the HOA popped up in the '80s, he didn't mind neighbors using the lake. He was decent like that. But somewhere along the line, courtesy turned into entitlement. The HOA took a favor and twisted it into their right. So I do what any lawyer's son would. I start gathering evidence. Photos, GPS, every sign and structure. Then I start digging, how long have they been collecting lake fees? Where's that money go? Who decided my grandpa's kindness could become a revenue stream? Turns out a long time ago, my grandpa sent a letter to the HOA 1987, handwritten, polite but clear. You can use the lake, but it's ours. This is permission, not ownership. It's a legal bombshell. If they kept charging money after that, it's not just a mistake, it's willful fraud. I bring in my friend Angela. She's a litigator, tough as they come. She sees the deeds, the maps, the letter, the fees. She says, Zachary, this isn't a misunderstanding, it's criminal. She asks what I want, settle quietly or go for public accountability. You ever watch your dad get humiliated, called a trespasser on his own land, then get offered money to shut up about it? You tell me how much money makes that right? Because I told Angela no settlement, we go public, all of it. I pull county records, deeds, plat maps, bylaws. Our lake never part of the HOA, clear as day. But the HOA since 2008 has charged every homeowner $200 plus a year for lake maintenance. That's $30,000 a year, nearly $500,000 since they started. For what, one dock, a couple of benches, some signs. The math doesn't add up. Here's the twist: the financials, thanks to a mysterious manila envelope in my mailbox, show payouts to a shell company, Bailey Property Services, LLC. Richard Bailey, Deborah's husband, board secretary, and the neighborhood's main realtor, created it in 2017. The HOAs paid it over $160,000 in 7 years, all for lake services no one can verify. Embezzlement, plain and simple. I talked to Roy, my grandpa's old friend. He kept notes, fees, meeting minutes, everything. Tells me how Deborah took control, shut down, questions, funneled money, jacked up property prices by advertising lake access. The whole thing is a family business. Lake fees fund their lifestyle, inflated sales fund their commissions. The rest of us pay for the privilege. With all the evidence stacked, Angela sends a discovery request. The HOA's lawyer stalls, but then boom, more records leak out confirming everything. We've got enough for a lawsuit and then some. I go to the next HOA meeting, sit in the back and wait. When the floor opens for questions, I stand and ask plain in public, what proof do you have that the HOA owns Silver Lake? Where's the deed? Deborah's smile tightens. She dodges. I say I'll be filing a lawsuit Monday. The residents deserve the truth about where their money's been going. The room goes quiet. Residents start asking questions. Deborah tries to adjourn, but the dam's already cracked. We file suit, trespass, fraud, conversion, embezzlement. Local paper runs a headline, family claims HOA stole their lake. Residents start calling, bringing their own receipts. Turns out everyone's been wondering about the money. 6 weeks later, we're in court. Angela presents the evidence, deeds, the 1987 letter, financials, payments to Bailey's shell company. The judge sees it all, orders an injunction, HOA off our property, all structures gone in 30 days, full forensic audit. Tells Deborah to retain separate legal counsel, meaning, lady, you're in trouble. Deborah leaves, head down, empire crumbling behind her. Richard bails mid-hearing. Residents murmur, finally realizing the truth. Justice, slow and stubborn, is coming around at last. And let me tell you, that moment watching the ones who thought they'd never face consequences finally squirm under the weight of their own arrogance. It isn't joy, not exactly. It's something quieter. Feels like the universe finally finding its level. I learned something out there on that lake fighting for my family's land. Power doesn't always look like money or office titles. Sometimes it's just knowing the truth and refusing to back down, refusing to sell your dignity for someone else's comfort. My grandpa used to say, you can't stop people from testing your boundaries, but you sure as hell can teach them where the line is. Turns out he was right. Now here's the thing I keep coming back to. Would you have fought? Or would you have taken the check and walked away? Is justice worth more than comfort? Should we always stand our ground even when it's easier to keep the peace? I want to know what you do. Drop a comment, share your story. Tell me where you draw your lines. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a story about a lake. It's about drawing boundaries, demanding truth, and knowing deep down that some things are worth the fight.